do you actually move from the dreaming phase to the finished novel phase? This session will teach on how to create the skeleton of a good story, how to critique the early drafts of a novel, and the top no-nos to avoid. So nearly everyone I talk to, I'm sure some of you have this experience, nearly everyone I talk to, from the grocery store checkout line to my friends, to computer programmers, just to everyone, they all have this very exotic and also very fictional picture of what it's like to be an author. So kind of a mashup of these top misconceptions is that authors lounge around in their pajamas all day, writing perfectly paced creative masterpieces that are shot off to an eager agent or publisher within a couple of months. And then the publisher effectively markets and promotes the author's book to an eager and perfectly selected market of readers, while the author begins work on their next masterpiece. So the eager agent and publisher part of that story I will address in my 7 o'clock session tonight, the Present Publishing World, A Guide to Choosing the Right Publishing Option. I'll be teaching on that later tonight. But for now, I'm going to talk about the perfectly paced creative masterpiece that takes only a couple of months to write. And so that's obviously not true. And in order to make us all feel better about ourselves as writers, I'll start off with a little story that's probably familiar to a lot of you. So once upon a time, there was this very busy family man and college professor who wrote when he had the time, usually about the subject matter that applied to the field he worked in. And in the midst of his busy everyday life, he began to come up with this alternate universe to the place that he was living in, and created a vast realm of languages, customs, politics, of the imaginary races that he had created in his head. This time of creative brainstorming lasted for about 10 years. Finally, a colleague of his, who was also a writer, insisted that this college professor put these ideas into a story form. The professor balked at the idea, insisting that nobody would be interested. But his colleague and some other writing friends invited the professor to their critique group and helped him take his creative universe and, after many years, polish it up and write it in story form and create a literary masterpiece. So the college professor in this story is J.R.R. Tolkien. The masterpiece is obviously the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And the colleague was C.S. Lewis, and the critique group was the Oxford University's writing group, the Inklings. J.R.R. Tolkien always insisted that he would never have created his Lord of the Rings trilogy without the support and at times even nagging insistence of the Inklings, especially C.S. Lewis, for him to finish up. Tolkien said that he would have been more than happy for the universe of Middle-earth to remain firmly rooted in his mind forever. And as it was, the book the trilogy still took him 10 years to create. So I think Tolkien and his writing journey illustrate some struggles that are very, very common to all creative types. It's easy for us to come up with endless imaginative ideas, but it's much, much harder for us to bring these ideas to fruition, especially in the form of a book, which is a larger project and a very time-consuming one. And so what I want to think about here is, why is that? Why is it hard to go from the creative moment to the finished product moment? And I think there are several reasons.